Hello and welcome to the Help Is Here podcast brought to you by the Beyond Compulsion Academy. Today we're going to be talking once again about feeling less shame around your porn addiction. My name's Thomas Molyneux. For about 10 years, I was in a porn addiction, struggled a lot with the shame aspect, never really told friends, family about this issue in my life, felt like maybe there's something wrong with me. Then I met this amazing woman here, Mary Paulis. She introduced me and taught me the Beyond Compulsion method. And I've got to admit, nowadays, one, I no longer feel like I have that porn addiction, like I've got no fear of urges or a problem with desires. And second of all, I don't feel any shame around talking about this issue. Hence me doing a podcast like last year with my mom, hence me talking about this openly with my girlfriends, with my friends, and having a podcast and a YouTube channel and whatnot as well, right? We had a group call about 2 weeks ago, and one of our clients was also sharing how he's very open about his porn addiction with friends and particularly with his girlfriend as well. And I was like, that's kind of interesting, because we hear that quite a lot with our clients. Like they end up talking about this issue quite a bit with friends, family. And what I'd love to do a podcast on today is basically how do you get from that position where you feel so much shame around this issue and you feel like there's something wrong with you into a position where you actually feel like, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. And you start to understand that it's really a psychological issue that can be solved. And it doesn't mean that it's something inherently wrong with your sexual desires or anything like that at all. So over to you, Mary. What's your first thoughts on this? And at some point in particular, I'd like to focus on the three parts in addiction today, if that's all right with you.
Sure. Yeah, and, that particular client was his wife, not his
Mm.
girlfriend, not to correct you or anything, but it
No,
just
you're right. You're right. It
yeah,
was,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
He's
he's
quite a
married,
young guy,
so
so I was thinking girlfriend because he's fairly
yeah,
young. I think he's like a little
yeah,
bit younger than me, but
yep,
yeah,
and
it's his wife.
yeah,
You're
I know
right.
he shares a lot of this with her, so that is really helpful to them,
Yeah.
um, but I think that once the guys, when they're out there in the world of the nofap and all the streaks and all the things and all the bad advice, that they don't really have any hope of overcoming the problem. So they don't want to share it
Mm,
because it's like, okay, well, I'm going to share this with my family and my friends, but then I know I'm ultimately going to be back in it. Or then if I share this with my family and friends, then, oh my God, I told them I'm on a streak or I'm stopping, then I have to stay stopped and all this kind of, incorrect thinking. And I think that getting the education through BCA and really understanding the problem and how they can, change it really specifically and directly, that gives them hope to be able to stay free of the problem. And a lot of them, when they start to talk to family and friends, because there's another guy who mentioned the same thing that,
mm,
feels really open with it now, that once they have that hope and that understanding of the problem, and then they can also see that, oh, this is not just some innate thing. There's something wrong with me that I need to go to therapy and I'm just totally fucked up and all this kind of stuff. Then they can leave that behind, and go, I can understand this problem now. And then they can explain it to their family and friends with hope of staying
mm,
stopped. And I think that can be really freeing, because it's such a secretive addiction too,
yeah.
there's just a lot that comes with that, sort of feeling ashamed. And also I think too, that we, reassure the guys on a regular basis, like, how can you blame a 10-year-old boy? I mean, most of the guys are between 10 and 12. I just worked with someone a couple days ago, one of the new guys, was in calibration session, and he was like 8. He was 8 years old when he started, How can you blame an 8, 10-year-old boy for, getting exposed to porn online? It's just so not their fault. And if we can get them to look at it that way too, I think it just takes a weight off their shoulders and then they feel more open,
Mm.
which is good because the more open people can be, the more we can reach other guys that are, getting stuck in this addiction. So yeah, it's my
Yeah.
thought. Yeah.
No, you make a good point about when you're in the addiction, there can be that hopelessness. So you feel like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't trust myself. And as we've banged on about so many times, things like removing the triggers, installing blockers, they're really based on the underlying concept that you do not have the ability to deal with your own mind, to deal with your own desires. So
Yeah.
therefore, it just reinforces this mindset that if I have an urge, I'm screwed. Like I'm not going to be
Yeah.
able to deal with that. So then your self trust erodes over time. So you're going to feel that fear of having a relapse in the future, which is not a good place to be overall.
Yeah.
And I think that would definitely hold someone back from being very open about this problem. Because if you don't have that confidence in yourself that you'll be able to deal with your own mind in the future, you're going to be very reluctant to sort of share, okay, this problem, I've got this problem with porn. I'm still going through it. That's the scarier thing to say to someone than,
Yeah.
okay, I used to have this problem with porn. Now I've solved it. Now I know how to deal with it. I understand why I got addicted and what happened. And now I'm in charge of, that part of my mind. And with that sort of bit in mind, that part of my mind, let's talk about the different parts in mind, right? I've said mind about 9 times now, but yeah, so we've got the addicted part of the mind, we've got the rational part of the mind, and we have the child self. I
Yeah.
think understanding a little bit about these parts and knowing how to navigate them is obviously a crucial part of the Beyond Compulsion method. And it's a integral part of all of our students' training in the Beyond Compulsion Academy. But also, I just think it's so key to get into that place where you don't feel the shame because you see that at one point in your life you had these thought patterns coming from a part of your mind that wasn't like the whole you, it was just a part of your mind, and you can actually put the rational part of the mind in charge and deal with that addicted part of the mind to gain that self-trust and confidence and sort of leave the shame and the relapses in the past. So let's talk about this a little bit, Mary. What's your thoughts on how having three parts in the mind and understanding that can help you overcome feelings of shame?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is like it's obviously a difficult thing to talk about anyway, right? To your family, any addiction would be, you would have some sort of apprehension and it would be uncomfortable to have that conversation. But I feel like when you understand, like, start to, put the rational self in the driver's seat. Like when you're talking to your family, otherwise you have the addictive part of your mind in the background going, well, you're going to relapse anyway. So maybe you shouldn't be telling them this stuff because
Mm,
then you're going to, all of that, and understanding the addictive part of the mind and what it's going to do and how to deal with it so that it's not that threat to you all the time. Um, yeah, and then the child self, it's just a matter of, getting that child self on the team with the rational self because, like we teach within the academy, the addictive part of the mind exploits the child self because
mm,
that immature part of you, emotionally immature, which should be a child is emotionally immature, right? They take advantage and can manipulate that part so easily to believe the bullshit. So when you get that child self on the same team and like as the rational self, and then you're able to, protect that child self because, the child self has been a victim all along, just taken along for the ride on the porn sites, or whatever.
mm.
So when you start to understand those three parts of you and knowing that the addictive part of the mind is always going to try to come in and manipulate the child self, then the rational self has a tool of dealing with that for dealing with that. And then, well, just and basically understanding what's happening. When all these voices are just going on in your head, it's like you're just like, ah, when you go, okay, that's what's happening, that's what's happening, that's what's happening, then you can solve the problem.
Yeah, for sure. And I think
Yeah.
you say quite specifically in phase two of the Beyond Compulsion method that
Mhm.
letting the addicted part of the mind talk can be really scary, like historically, because
Yeah.
when the addicted part of the mind's spoken in the past, it's usually led to
Yeah.
someone relapsing because they don't
Right.
know how to counter those thoughts with the truth. Because what the addicted part of the mind will do is say a load of shit, which really a lot of the time is irrational. Things like, just do it once, it'll be the last time, or oh, it's not that bad, it's normal, everyone watches porn, it's fine, or oh, that doesn't really count as porn, it's just on Instagram, or whatever bullshit is in there. So say these incorrect, irrational things to try and get you to relapse. And that can be scary because,
Yeah.
and that's why people tend to remove triggers and do the things to try get away from that part of the mind and like push it away, sort of suppress it, because they're scared that, well, if the addictive part of the mind starts to speak, and if I have these desires, then oh shit, I'm going to get out of control like I always have. But that doesn't have to be true, because once you understand that it's okay to have those thoughts going on and that you can deal with them in a rational way and take back charge, you can get a lot of relief from the feelings of sort of shame and like there's something wrong with you, or like that fear, that anxiety, because it's just like, oh yeah, it's just the addicted part of the mind speaking. And yeah, that can be a bit scary in that moment, or it can be intense at times, but at the same time, over repetition of dealing with it, you do just gain this like confidence and self trust that, oh yeah, it's okay. It's part of the mind talking. I'm going to answer back and actually change that neural pathway. And I'm not saying let's just like let it talk and be passive. It's like, no, let's see that as an opportunity to attack and change that pathway and rewire those thought patterns by correcting the irrational thinking going on in that specific moment of compulsive desire.
Yeah. Well, and two, because the addictive part of the mind is so invested in getting you into a place of where you feel like you don't know and that you're confused, and because that leads to feelings of helplessness, and then you have the helplessness or the hopelessness, and then there's that fear and anxiety, and then it's like all of that can just lead right to there's something wrong with me, and then here comes the shame, oh, I'm ashamed, there's something wrong with me, rather than being able to sort all of that out in a rational way. And with the education, it becomes I, mechanical, you know what I
Mm.
mean? Where it's like something like the mechanics of a car. They can be all scary when you're like, oh, my car won't start, or all the things within the car and the weird noise or whatever. But when you understand the mechanics of the car, it's way less scary to you, right? It's like, okay, I need to change my oil or whatever. I don't know the mechanics of a
Yeah,
car,
yeah.
honestly, but I'm not even going to claim to know that. But that understanding, I think. I also think that the other guy who said he was talking to his family and everything, he said it was coming from a place of confidence and really feeling like he was in a position to be able to overcome this and was excited about that. And he said that when he or tried to explain the methodology to his family,
Mm.
that they were like really on board with it. They were like, wow, okay, cool. This really makes sense, So it's just so much good that comes from the education and the
Yeah.
empowerment of the understanding of the knowledge, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it can help other people understand you better and understand that, okay, not everything we say in life is always going to be coming from the
Yeah.
rational part of our minds. Like
Yeah.
on the way over here, I was walking with my girlfriend and I said something, and she was like, Tom, that sounds like junkie thinking to me. And I was like, nah, you know what?
Yeah.
That's probably pretty accurate. I probably was
Yeah.
junkie thinking, and having a bit of a laugh about it. And she just ran like a 10K race in Manchester today, and she was sort of talking about her race time a little bit, and to me it sounded a bit like obsessive, kind of about like 1 kilometer was like this pace or whatever, and she was like disappointed in it or whatnot. And I was like, that sounds like junkie thinking to me, Leanne. So it was going a
Yeah.
bit back and forth, like calling each other out on junkie
Yeah.
thoughts. And there's no like shame in that at all. Like it's okay to have junky thoughts or unanswerable questions, especially once and you have that awareness to go, oh yeah, that's just like the addicted part of the mind, sort of going down that path of compulsive thinking, that over analysis,
Yeah.
and we can deal with that, and you can say it from a place of strength. And another big advocate for this is Joey Beyond Compulsion as well, who we've done a few podcasts with.
Mhm.
He's got his own YouTube channel now, having taken our method over a year ago and succeeded with it ever since. And he talks about this as well on his YouTube channel, how, there's these different parts in the mind. There's nothing wrong with you. and you can get to a position where you really do talk about this problem from a place of strength, where we're on the attack, we're being proactive, we feel good about the issue. And I think that's a big part of this whole mission for us, is getting people from that place of helplessness, feeling scared, feeling fearful around the addictive part of the mind, a lot of shame, feeling like there's something wrong with them, into that position of strength where it's like, okay, yeah, used to have this problem with porn, used to be out of control, didn't know how to deal with the addictive part of the mind, but now I am equipped to deal with that part of my mind, and therefore I'm good, I'm solid. Yeah, maybe I have some compulsive desires from time to time, but no problem, because I'm the one in control now. I know how to deal with that part of my mind, and you feel
Yeah.
so much better on the other side.
And I think too that, you know, there's like all the years that go by that maybe you behave in a certain way. I remember like you having a big fight with your mom or something. She didn't even
Mm.
know. Like she says on the podcast, how are you doing this in my house? And I didn't even know about it, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. She didn't even know about any of that. But then there can be some sort of explanation for this is what I was going through, you know?
Mm,
And but the thing is when people don't feel like they have a solution or they have a way to get free of the addiction and they just feel like so stuck in that,
mm.
any conversation about it with anybody, they're going to become defensive,
Yeah.
you know? And when someone becomes defensive, it's like, it made me think of it when you said that you and Leanne, you know, walk down the street calling each other out on junkie thinking and have a laugh about it, right? So, but most people, like, if they're stuck in an addiction, they're going to become defensive. You say
Mm.
anything about it, their first instinct is going to be defend themselves, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the whole entire, you know, fat acceptance movement is all based on they're defending themselves against all these people that are, you know, discriminating against them or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
it's the first go-to is defensiveness, which is never is productive. You know, when people get defensive, it's never productive. So yeah.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And I think
Yeah.
when people get defensive in like an argument, you end up having people think more about like, think about things more from like a egotistical, sort of sensitive, personable perspective, rather than a sort of logical, rational, analytical way of thinking, where it's like, no, 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 there isn't something to do with like who you are. This isn't something down to your core. It's not your being. It's not who you are, which is just what I want to get across. It's like, it's just the way you're thinking about something right now. And like,
Yeah.
I guess we're very privileged, and I'm very privileged in particular to be someone who once had a porn addiction and now works with guys from literally every continent on this planet, and sees how everyone's mind in this porn addiction basically operates in the same way. And it's like, it's so fascinating to just see
Yeah.
how people have the same kind of junky thoughts, the same kind of unanswerable questions. And it really is universal. And it's just
Hmm.
the way in which you're thinking, and that thinking can be transformed to get you to a position where you get clear and you get free from this issue, which is awesome. So yeah, that's
Well,
all I've got to say on that.
and when the thing is when you don't understand it, and you got all the voices in your head, you know, it's daunting. And you don't understand that, you know, it seems infinite when there's a
Mm,
finite, you know, amount of junky thinking, the different patterns that it, you know, follows and everything. It's like when you really understand that, and especially the unanswerable questions, which we're the only ones on the planet addressing that key piece of addiction, you know, that is just like, um, I was talking to a guy a couple of days ago. He said, "You know, I feel like I'm just spiraling, 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 spiraling. You know, what a horrible feeling. You know, just spiraling down." And it's all that when you're able to sort all that out, it's very different. You know,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Because when you really break things down to their most simple, you see that, yeah, there's the present moment, and there's choices, there's options available to you, and there's a way to think through your choice in the present moment, and that's all you need to do, is consistently think through your choice in the present moment. Now, obviously, there's more to that, because obviously there is, yeah, dealing with the addicted part of the mind, but
yeah,
it's kind of like whatever the addictive part of the mind says in whatever format. Once you're equipped to know when the addictive part of the mind's speaking, all we do with our clients is go straight into the script, which is then going to facilitate that choice in the present moment, in that moment of compulsive desire. and allow you to make a decision based in logic and rationale rather than being dictated and driven and played around like a puppet by the addictive part of the mind. You then
Yeah.
get to shift out of that default neural pathway into a new one, create a new neural pathway, and you do that repeatedly over time. You get free. And yeah, if you would like to learn more about that as we, wrap up this podcast, feel free to book in a discovery call with myself, because that's what we're doing inside the Beyond
Yeah.
Compulsion Academy is we're training people on that skill set of dealing with the addictive part of the mind in a very unique, specific way with a script. Mary, any final thoughts for you today?
Yes, and have a final thought,
Yeah,
for any of the guys out there that are going, "Oh my God, what is happening to me? I'm abnormal." That's, I keep coming back to there's something wrong with me
yeah,
specifically. I'm abnormal, whatever. Having, all these thoughts, feeling hopeless, all of the things, feeling helpless, feeling afraid, feeling ashamed, all the things is normal.
hmm,
You are normal. And again, you can sort that out with the right education. Just, don't think that there's something wrong with you that you got to go dig up some deep wood traumas and whatever. It's just like it's all very normal because nobody's dealing with the piece that needs to get dealt with. And
yeah,
like I said, get a discovery call with Tom and we can
yeah.
help you out with that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just seeing all that thinking going on around the questioning of like, is there something wrong with me? Are my desires out of whack? Like, am I going to be like this way forever? It's seeing
Yeah.
that all of that is just a very natural symptom of being in the addiction. And
Right.
I think, as I said earlier, we're lucky that we get to talk with clients from all over the world because we then get them to train themselves really through the Beyond Compulsion method to then bring these thoughts to the forefront, bring them to group calls, share them inside the academy so that we see those thoughts, they're correcting those thoughts as well alongside each other with
Yeah.
different clients, with us. So then we're getting really clear to see, oh yeah, like that's a very, very common thought pattern that people have in addiction. And it's like, it doesn't mean that there is something wrong with you. It's just the addictive part of the mind wants you to believe that because if it can get
Yeah.
you to believe that, what chance in hell do you have of overcoming this problem? Well, not very much. In fact, you're probably going to keep on doing the same thing that you've been doing for many years, which is exactly what the addictive part of the mind wants because it only wants one thing, which is to keep you relapsing. Because
Yeah.
that's its job, and it's supposed to do that. So it's so natural.
And with the
Yeah,
guys in the group too, it's like how they actually support each other. And then it's like someone's thinking, "Oh, I'm having this thought. There's something wrong. What's going on?" It's like, "Oh, this person's having the exact same thought." And they can see that, "Oh, this is just a wiring issue. This is not a me issue." Right. So to be able to share that in group, the groups are really valuable and really powerful, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Final analogy, then we'll wrap up. But yeah, just kind of building on that mechanics analogy that you brought up earlier, it is a bit like if you had 50 mechanics from all these different parts in the world who've been stuck trying to solve a problem with their car for 20 or 30 years. And then they all come together and get trained by like one mechanic on how to solve the problem. Then they're all looking at these parts in the car and they're all like looking around at each other like, what the hell? Like, this is
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
you solve it. Like, there was nothing
Yeah.
wrong with
Yeah.
me or this car all along. I just hadn't been
Yeah.
taught how to deal with this
Yeah.
part in the car. And
Yeah.
it all gets a
This
lot
part is
clearer. Uh,
disconnected. Oh, wait, we got to connect this part. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, good stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully this is useful to you. Yeah, link below to a discovery call if you want to book one in with me. We can have a private confidential call. Cheers for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
You.